Hi, I'm Michelle, the head witch in charge here at Holisticism, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Monday Hour One inside of Notion. Now, Monday Hour One is the system that I use to get every single thing done in my life. Like literally, I put everything in my Monday Hour One. And I have a lot working against me when it comes to productivity. I'm just going to say it. I've got ADHD. I'm a triple water, Pisces, Sun, Cancer, Rising, Scorpio, Moon. I'm a projector in human design. So don't like to work too much. And I also run a startup and I have a team of people who are all over the world who work remotely. So I've got a lot of balls that I have to juggle, a lot of work that I have to do. And like, let's be honest, I'm not the most productive person in the world. It's really, really hard for me to stay focused on a day-to-day basis. So I need amazing systems to help me get my work done and really like do the work that I love to do, which is help people. And if you're anything like me, you probably have some things that are inhibiting your productivity too. I mean, we are in a global pandemic. It's unprecedented and we're distracted by things all day long, like TikTok and the news and I don't know, being people, right? So Monday Hour One is a system that I learned from Brooke Castillo, but I've sort of made for myself as a not neurotypical ADHD squiggly brained person. And I've made it work for me. I'm excited to teach it to you. I made you this Notion template, which I'll be working off of that you can go ahead and duplicate at the link below. So Monday Hour One is something that I learned from Brooke Castillo at the Life Coach School. And in Brooke's podcast on Monday Hour One, she talks about how to basically perform Monday Hour One inside of your Google Calendar. So just like a little spoiler, this did not work for me. It did not work for me at all. But the idea behind Monday Hour One really worked for me. So the original version of Monday Hour One basically says this: at the beginning of the week, you should brain dump the first hour of Monday. You should brain dump everything that you want to do during that week on a piece of paper or on a notepad or in your email, somewhere where you can see it. So you're going to include everything from send email to lawyer, to buy groceries, to look for new deodorant, to, I don't know, record new podcast episode. Everything, little things, big things, all the things. Then you're going to take those individual tasks and you're going to put them in your Google Calendar. You're going to schedule them as actual things on your calendar. So for example, you would write email lawyer, and you do that at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning from 8 to 8:30, however long you think it's going to take you. Now, if you have ADHD or a squiggly brain, you can probably see where this is going. Those of us who are not neurotypical tend to have time blindness, which means that we are not always good with, I don't know, keeping on track with a timeline. We also have something called object impermanence, which means that if something's not right in front of us, it pretty much like immediately doesn't exist to us. And we forget that it is a thing in the real world. That's why people with ADHD are like really bad about calling their friends or seeing their friends if they aren't, I don't know, seeing them every single day for work. It's not because we don't love you. It's because of object impermanence. But I digress. If you are someone who has time blindness like me, putting things on your calendar that you know inevitably you're probably going to like block out of. For example, it might take me longer than 30 minutes to write an email because I might get distracted by something that my team is asking me to do, or have to go to the bathroom or make a coffee, or I might run over from my last meeting. Inevitably, I'm going to get so behind on my day-to-day tasks that I just get depressed and I end up not using Monday Hour One, or even worse, I end up moving things, moving blocks to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. I keep pushing them off. Doesn't work, makes me depressed, doesn't help me do anything, and also makes me not respect the calendar, which is not a good thing. So what I do instead is what you're looking at right now, which is I block focus time using something called Clockwise, which I'm obsessed with. And I only block meetings that I know are going to happen for sure. So that is what you see in my calendar right now. And what I did instead to create Monday Hour One that worked for me was I built something inside of Notion. Now, if you don't already know what Notion is, oh my God, welcome to the rest of your life. It's the best thing ever. It's like if Google Drive and Dropbox and Asana and Basecamp and I don't know, a bunch of other cool things like Trello all had a baby, but the baby was like aesthetically pleasing and really easy to use and super fun. It's really the best. I use it for everything. And I teach a bunch of classes on Notion for intuitive ADHD people, witches, weirdos, all of us creatives. So if you want to learn more about that, you can click the link below. But we're going to be using a pretty basic version of Notion today inside of this template. Let me make this big so you can see it, and we will get into today's lesson. So I've got a couple of things that I'm working on here inside of my Monday Hour One. And here's the thing. I really believe that when you have a system that works for you and that works for your brain, you can have fun. You can have fun in your work, and your work should be fun. You can get more things done. You can be more creative. You can be more intuitive. And for most of us who have ADHD, and in fact, for those of us who have ADHD, I'm actually just going to close this guy up, or who are squiggly brained, as I like to call it. We've learned that systems don't work for us. And we think that means that we're broken, when in reality, it just means that the systems that we're using are not systems for us. You're not broken. Your systems are. So you just need to find a system that works for you. My Monday Hour One system might work for you, but it also might not. You might need to make some changes so it works for your brain and your schedule, or until you acclimate to it. So just giving you permission to use this, to take it with a grain of salt, and to take the stuff that works and leave the stuff that doesn't. So let's get into how exactly this Monday Hour One template works. In my top left-hand corner, I've got my advanced database, which is my weeks template, which we're going to talk about in a second. And I've got recurring tasks. I'm going to show you how to use these at the very end of this tutorial. To my other side, I've got my inbox template. Let me just make myself a little smaller. I've got my inbox template and I've got my tasks. These are two databases inside of Notion that I've created. Now you'll notice that when I have this little task template, I've got an arrow pointing up and to the right inside of next to tasks, right? What does that mean? Well, inside of Notion, anytime we see that, that means that this is actually a linked database. A linked database is simply a database that shows up more than once inside of Notion. It's a direct clone. And interestingly enough, these are not just clones, they are carbon copies of each other that are living and breathing. So when I edit this tasks template database, it will also edit the main database of tasks template, which actually is right below here. So my original template is here. Do you see how there's no arrow pointing up and to the right? And then my copy template is up and has that little arrow there. Now, you also probably notice a big difference in how these two things look, right? And that's because inside of Notion, databases have different views. So I can actually upload information to a database. I can upload data to a database, and I can see it differently depending on the view that I want to use. Why is this useful? Well, it's really helpful to see information laid out in different ways. Inside of Notion, we have a couple of different types of databases that we can look at. So let's go ahead and open up our tasks template in its own little page here. Come on, buddy. So I'm just going to go look at this as its own page. Of course, Notion is taking a little bit of time. So you'll notice that when I click on this little button at the top left-hand corner, I see a drop-down menu, and I have the option to look at this in different views. I've got a bunch of different views already inside of this database, but I also have the option to create views here. These are the different views inside of databases inside of Notion. So I can view this as a table, as a board, which is how it shows up right now, as a timeline, as a calendar, as a list, and as a gallery. I'm not going to go into all of these views today, but I can definitely make another video about that if you want to learn more. But today we are going to be looking specifically at boards and at tables. Those are the two types of views that we're going to be using for our Monday Hour One. So let's navigate back to our main Monday Hour One page. And I'm doing that just by going to the top left-hand corner, and I'm clicking on the little breadcrumbs that take me back to my main desktop and my main template page. So I'm going to use a couple of things to organize my day and my life. Now, with Monday Hour One and the way that Brooke Castillo teaches it, she says, brain dump your ideas, everything you need to do in a list. And I think that lists are awesome, but I'm going to take her and level that up just one iota for all of my ADHD people, all of my squiggly brain people out there. If you are someone who always has a bunch of notebooks floating around with all of your ideas and your to-do lists and your tasks. And you've also got a bunch of different lists inside of your computer or inside of your phone. I want you to try using an inbox moving forward. An inbox is simply a place where you're going to be storing and containing information and ideas as they pop in real time to your brain. So typically what happens for us is that we have all these ideas and all these thoughts that pop up. Things like, oh, I got to get back to so-and-so and I have to reply to that text. And I really want to look into that new back knee lotion. And oh my gosh, should I go get my ring cleaned? All of these ideas are valid. We don't want to forget about them. We don't want them to just disappear from our brains. But we also don't want to just run on those tangents when we're trying to get things done in our day-to-day lives. That's where your inbox comes in. You're going to use your inbox to capture your ideas, those thoughts, those to-dos that come up as in your day-to-day as they come across your brain. And you're going to store them here in your inbox so that you don't get distracted and you don't jump into those things and then forget what you're doing. Inevitably, for a lot of people with ADHD, what happens to us is we know that as an idea pops into our brain, we're going to forget it. So we feel as if we need to immediately act on the idea as soon as we get it, because or else we're going to forget, right? And so what will happen is we'll start a task at the beginning of the day, like writing an email, and then we'll get a reminder for something like, oh, I got to buy groceries on Amazon. Let me do that really quickly. Then we'll go do that. Then we'll see another thing that we need to do. Oh, someone just slacked me. Let me get back to that. And then we'll have this like sort of like never ending jumping from thing to thing to thing. And then we finally get back to that project that we started at the very beginning of the day. And we are totally screwed because we are not focused. We forget where we were. We're just like lost our mojo. Inboxing your ideas as they come in every single day can help you stay focused. There are a couple of different templates that I use inside of my inbox, and maybe I'll make a video just on inboxing at some point, but I use these templates and I've created them for you here. I use after meeting, urgent, idea, daily to do, and buy, because I see a lot of stuff that I want to buy or try. And I put that inside of the Cusp, our Wellness Hype Beast newsletter. If you want to learn more about it, I'll put the link below. So let's say that I have a meeting with my team, and as soon as I get out of that meeting, I have a to-do, like I've got to send an email or I have to send a follow-up or I need to get analytics for my team. I would go ahead and click that template, and this pops up with my little check because I've created that inside of my Notion. And then I would say send analytics. Analytics. And that would now be in my inbox. So when I click out, there we go. I've got the information there. Now, maybe I want to add a couple more ideas. Maybe I need to say something like buy new notebook and pay tuition, right? So one of these things is work. One of these things is like maybe administrative, and the other is maybe something that's really personal for me. So these are just things that I know that I'm going to need to get to. They're tasks. And this is how I would do my Monday hour one. So the very first hour of Monday, I would write down everything that I need to do here in my inbox. I could, if I wanted to, use these templates. If you have daily to-dos, things that are urgent, things you want to buy, if you want, and if it's easy, or you can do it the way that I just showed you by adding a new little table below. Okay, so once I've done that, I want to drag and drop these things in my inbox into my tasks. Remember, I've got my tasks template, my tasks database twice on this page. The first place is here underneath tasks. The second place is here underneath Monday hour one. Now, these two things look different because they're different views inside of a database. This is just a table view, simple, easy. And this is a board view. And you can see that in this board view, I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I've also got a place where it says no MH1, which is Monday hour one, no Monday hour one assigned. Awesome. So what I'm going to do next is go ahead and drag and drop these different things into my tasks database. And you can see that as soon as I add these into my tasks database, they also show up in my tasks database here. That's because these databases are linked databases. Basically, I made a carbon copy of my tasks template and I put it underneath tasks. I'm just viewing this information in a different way, which is why the view is different, but it's the same information. One thing to note here is that I actually have a filter on this tasks page, and you can see that I've filtered this so that it says and only shows when tasks have been created within the past week and when the Monday hour one or the day that I'm assigning them to is empty, and when the week contains week 36. You don't need to add this week part if you don't want to. That's advanced, and I'll get to that at the end of the video, but I just want to let you know that that's there. Okay. So all of those properties have already been added inside of these tables that I made you. And now that I've uploaded these into my tasks, I can assign them out to my Monday hour one. Now, if I wanted to, I could also just drag and drop these parts, these specific like pages from my inbox into my tasks template down here. That's one of the coolest things about Notion is that you can actually drag data and information really quickly and easily from a table to a page to an image. It's amazing and it's so simple. Let me move myself so you can see my Monday hour one. So if I wanted to, I could move my analytics all the way down and assign it to Monday of my Monday hour one. Super simple. And inside of this template, I actually had already created the template so that it said ASAP and I have it as a to-do. So that's inside of my inbox template, just as a heads up. But for most of my tasks, when I add them into my tasks template and I don't assign a day of the week, or I don't add them from a template, they're going to show up just like this. So there are no extra properties added here. And that's going to give me the opportunity to add these properties in and help me make sense of my week as it comes up. So maybe I'm going to add a couple of more tasks inside of this template really quickly. Let's pretend I'm doing this as my Monday hour one. I want to send important email. And maybe there's another thing that I need to do, and that is organize paper bills. Okay. Don't you hate that whenever I get something in the mail, I'm like, why? Email, come on. Send it to me in an email. Okay, so now I want to assign these out to my days of the week. The reason I want to do this is because I want to know exactly the day that I'm going to be taking over this task. I want to see what my day is going to look like and how I need to organize my day. I usually do this with my calendar open next to me. So I know if I have important meetings. For example, today I had an hour and a half long meeting where I was presenting and teaching, which meant that I'm not going to be at my best when it comes to writing things like marketing copy or taking a bunch of other meetings. That's just not going to work for me. So on today, Tuesday, I'm going to have a more open schedule where I'm doing more fun, creative stuff that doesn't take a lot of my brain space and energy. But I've got my calendar open next to me, and I'm just going to drag and drop these items wherever they need to go. And I'm going to figure out what makes the most sense for whatever it is that I need to do. Maybe on the day that I'm buying dog food, I want to buy my new notebook because I realize actually this is going to be a day that I'm doing a bunch of sort of tasky things. And I see I've got a couple other things here like toilet paper and a duplicate of buying dog food. Okay, cool. We can actually just delete that. And it's really simple to delete things. You can just go and delete. Voila, c'est ça. And then maybe I want to send that important email on Thursday. And, I see on Friday, I actually have nothing. So maybe that's a really good day for me to do admin work. I actually usually take Fridays off, to be totally honest with you. Okay, great. So now that I've got all of this information laid out, I want to add a couple other things to help me organize my week. I've got these properties inside of my Monday hour one that help me orient to the tasks that are at hand. And this just helps me figure out my energy. I'm a projector in human design and I have emotional energy, which means that my energetic wave is usually 2 days of really, really active, really present, really good ideas, and then 3 days of basically shitty ideas. And I can pretty much do nothing. I need really low intensity brain stuff. It's just how I work. I know that about myself now. So I'm going to go through each of the items on my list for my Monday hour one, and I'm going to say whether they're urgent, what their priority is. So I'll start with priority, right? Is this non-urgent, medium, high priority, or do I need to do this ASAP? Let's say that I need to publish this podcast actually tomorrow. So this is an ASAP thing that I need to do. The next thing that I've got to do is the status. Is this in process? Is it blocked? Is it completed? No, I need to do it still. I haven't started this yet. And then finally, I select my energy level. Is this a 1 cup of coffee job, 2 cup of coffee, or 3 cups of coffee? For me, writing a podcast and recording it is 3 or 2 cups of coffee. And then finally, a little bit more advanced, if you want to add this, you totally can, is assigning this to a project. So I have projects for pretty much every single thing in my life. I find this to be really, really helpful when I'm busy, when I'm doing things. I want to assign every task in my life to a different project or focus that I'm working on. So I have projects that are personal. I have projects that are just about work. I have projects that span over a week. I have projects that span over years, but I will go ahead and assign this to whatever it needs to go, wherever it needs to go inside of my business. So I'm going to find my podcast, because let's say we're doing this as a podcast situation. Let me find that. I've got a lot of projects going right now. And my computer is like heating up because I've got so much going. All right. And I can't even find it right now. So let's do 12th house and I'll just search for it. And the way that I've done this is I've actually just created a relation inside of my database, which is really simple to do. And if you want a little bit more detail about that, I can totally show you. Just ask me in the comments and I will make a video for you. All right, so I've selected the project that I want this to be assigned to. Finally, if I wanted to add the due date, I could, but I very rarely add due dates to my work just because I don't think it's that helpful for me personally as a creator to use due dates, but you could totally use due dates if you wanted to. All right, so I've got my Monday hour 1 now. And as I go through each item on my list, I'm going to go ahead and mark it as either completed or not completed. When I've completed something, I'm going to go ahead and mark it to completed. And I've done something inside of my Monday hour 1. Watch this. As soon as I mark this as completed, it disappears from my Monday hour 1 dashboard. Now, I've done this by creating a filter so that the only things that I see in this Monday hour 1 database are tasks that are not completed and tasks that are for the week of week 36, which we're going to talk about in just a second, but is a little bit more advanced. I've also got one more property that I find really useful, and that's picking my top 3 focuses of the week. I learned this from Sean at My First Million, and he says that one of the best things that you can do is decide what your big needle movers are every single week. So he says, pick the 3 things that, like, if you don't get shit done all week long, these are the 3 things that you definitely do. And even if they're super small, like sending 1 email or publishing that blog post, or I don't know, calling your mom, you're going to feel accomplished because they're going to move you closer to your goal, even if it's just by a millimeter. So I like to pick my 3 big things of the week. And sometimes they're small and sometimes they're big. So my top 3 are right here. You can see that they've got little check marks next to them. Let's see if I can get this pointer going. They're right here, and right here. That was insane. Okay, so I got my top 3 of the week. I just selected those and voila, c'est ça. So now that I've got my Monday hour 1 all set up, as I go through my week, I'm going to mark things off as completed. But inevitably, I'm going to get distracted, or, I'm just going to not complete everything that I want to complete. So if I get through Monday and I realize, oh my God, I didn't brainstorm any IG Reels content and I didn't send my analytics, I'm just going to move them to the day that I think I can get that job done. Maybe I see, this is a job that I need to do ASAP. I need to send these analytics. So I'm actually going to do this on Tuesday. You can hear my dog in the background. And I see this other thing, actually my brainstorming my IG Reels content, it's high priority, but it's not ASAP. So I'm actually going to move it to Wednesday because I have this other ASAP task that I need to do on Tuesday. And I know that these are 2 big things that are probably going to take me a significant period of time. So I need to plan ahead for that and just know what I'm capable of. I think that's my biggest piece of feedback for anyone who has ADHD or is trying to be more productive and just like get more focused. It's understand what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And I know that I'm not capable of working a 12-hour day. I'm just not. I'm really good at the beginning of the day, not so great after 3 o'clock at night or in the afternoon. So I'm not going to pretend like I'm an amazing writer at 7 o'clock at night. That just isn't realistic for me. And I'd rather be honest about what I can do and set myself up for success with that than lie to myself and just make myself feel bad, right? So that's how Monday Hour One works. We basically understand what we're capable of. We understand what's on their docket for the week, and then we assign it out as need be. And I mentioned that inside of this template, I've made some advanced databases that may or may not be useful to you. I think that they're pretty useful, but you might be good with what I've just given you. If so, if you're like, I've got enough to cover, yeah, I don't need any more, awesome. Please turn this video off. Go be on your merry way. But if you're like, wait, I want to hear about the advanced stuff. Oh, baby, have I got some news for you? Let's get into the advanced stuff. Two things that I want to show you. The first is using the weeks template. And the second thing is creating recurring tasks inside of Notion. So let's talk about the weeks template. Why would I want to have weeks associated with my Monday Hour One? Well, think about when you get to the end of a week on a Friday, and there are a ton of things that you haven't done that you need to assign to the next Monday. Maybe you want to move those things back to Monday and, have the middle of your week empty. Or maybe what might be better is figuring out what week you can actually do them on and having a different view for each week of the year. So if we count the weeks of the year, there are 52 weeks in the year, we can actually assign out our projects or our tasks to different weeks. I use this because I want to be able to punt things maybe 2 weeks in advance. There are plenty of projects and tasks that I come up with. For example, let's say it's something like send update to sponsor. This might be something that as soon as it pops into my brain, I'm like, oh, I got to do that, but I don't need to do it for a couple of weeks. So I want to be able to remember it, right? And I don't want it to just live in my inbox for the next 2 weeks. That's not the point of an inbox. An inbox is a temporary place to store thoughts as you eventually assign them out to the right spot, whether it's an actionable task or a non-actionable task. All of our actionable tasks go inside of our Monday Hour One or our task list. So let's say I have this idea, oh my gosh, I have to send the update to the sponsor, but I actually don't need to do this for like 3 more weeks. And in the meantime, I want to know that it exists, but I don't want it to just be looming over me. Because remember, we eventually get blind to things that are on our list if we ignore them for a certain period of time. We say, this thing is not important. I don't need to prioritize it. And so your brain kind of just says like, bye, I'm not paying attention to this thing anymore. And what inevitably happens is then when it actually comes to be the time that we need to do that project, we totally forgot. It's not good. And then we're procrastinating. It's a vicious cycle of dopamine and norepinephrine. It's not good. Nobody likes it. So what I would do instead is instead of assigning this to week 36, if I know that my due date to send this to the sponsor is during week 38, I'm going to add that here. So I'll go in and I'll just type in 38. And that's going to pull up week 38. It says the date is September 20th. Okay, great. That is towards the end of the month. So that makes sense to send an update to a sponsor, probably a sponsor of content. Okay, awesome. And this due date is clearly wrong. So I'm going to just want to go ahead and update that. If the due date is necessary, maybe I know that I'm doing this week. So the due date is 27th. Okay, great. And now this update is actually going to disappear from the Monday Hour One dashboard that I see in front of me. And this is important because we want to only see the things that are on our plate. Otherwise, we're going to get overwhelmed. So what happens, Michelle, when it becomes the next week? What do we do? Let's say we get rid of all of these things, or maybe I want to move a bunch of these items to the next week. I realize, you know what? I actually don't need to do these during this week. This week is week 36. I'm going to go ahead and move them. You can highlight multiple things inside of Notion, right click, and then you're going to select the week. And from here, you can batch edit a bunch of tasks. I'm going to go ahead and select 38. So you can see because I took them out, they moved from this week. And now the week 38 is going to be applied to all of those tasks. Now, why did those tasks disappear from my Monday Hour One? It's because I've got a filter on this page. So remember, this is only showing me tasks that are not completed and when the week is week 36. So everything that I do when I hit Monday hour one on Monday morning, I'm going to go ahead and brain dump all of my ideas. And I'm going to change the filter on my Monday hour one to the current week. So let's say we're in the future and it is finally week 38. I'm going to go ahead and find it here. Oh, blessed be week 38, beginning of Libra season. We love to see it. Okay, amazing. So now I've got week 38 up in front of me, and all of my tasks that I assigned to week 38 are already here inside my dashboard. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, actually, no, I want all of these to go back to week 36. This was not the move for me. Okay, go ahead and change them back. All good. We're going to go ahead and actually do this because sometimes we freak out when things disappear. So we're going to add them to week 36. And then what I'm going to do is actually delete or exit out of week 38 inside of these guys. So I've already got this here. Fabulous. And we're going to change it because now they're both under, all these tasks are under week 38 and week 36, which we don't want. So I'm going to move them out of week 38. So now the only thing here is my update from my sponsor. Let's fall back. Let's go in the Wayback Machine to week 36 and pull it up. Oopsies, I selected the wrong thing. And you see when I selected the week 39, there's nothing here. And now when I select week 36, voila, c'est ça. I see everything that I need. So everything gets added to my week 36. I really like using the weeks template because it helps me keep track of what I do every week and not have my weeks basically run into each other, which is not helpful for me and my brain. Because I feel like it's a never ending scroll and that gives me depression. If you wanted to, I like using weeks because I find it helpful to see what my team is working on every week. And to see what you accomplished. You might have weeks where you got a lot done. You might have weeks where you got nothing done. So when you have this week's template, you can see all of the tasks that are related to that week. So you can see this is organized by, we'll go ahead and sort this the right way. And now I see all of the tasks that are associated with this week. I'm going to go ahead and just make a couple of edits so that it makes it a little bit easier for us to spot this and see all the content inside of this page. So pretty cool, easy way for you to see what you got done, see where your most productive weeks were, and also maybe the weeks that took a little bit more time for you. Let's navigate all the way back to our template for the very last thing that I want to show you, which is how to create recurring tasks inside of Notion. Now, I love Notion with all my heart, with all my soul, but Notion's downfall is that it does not have easy recurring tasks. Drives me bananas, but there is a workaround, and that is using the template page or the template button inside of Notion. So let's really quickly make a template. The way that we're going to do this is by clicking into Notion, and I'm going to do it right here, right underneath my recurring tasks. And I'll click the backslash, which is going to help us bring up commands. And I'm just going to type in template. And that's going to pull up the template button. The template button is amazing. And I think it's one of the most underutilized things inside of Notion. It helps us just with one click replicate anything that we want. So you could make an entire database if you wanted. You could make an entire new page. You could make a block, whatever you want to do. I want to make a recurring task. So let's say that my recurring task is sending analytics. Perhaps I need to send analytics every single week. So my recurring task will be send analytics. I'm going to put that here so I know what the button is. And I totally spelled analytics wrong. Can't spell analytics without anal. And then I'm going to backspace and get rid of what's inside of here. It's a to-do. And I'm going to just drag and drop this entire page into my template block. So now it's inside of my template block as a page. I'm going to close this. Voila. I'm going to show you really quickly something that I didn't mention. Every single block inside of a database is its own page. So when I open this and I click into it, you're going to see that you can expand this to a full-size page. Do you see how it says open as page here? If I wanted to do this, it would bring me to a full-size page, and I can leave more information inside of this basically like this little cell that we've created, right? This is one of the coolest things about Notion is that you can store so much information in a really compact space. This is important to note because we created a duplicate of that task, right? And that task is actually a page. It's not just one of these little sort of sticky notes, right? Digital sticky notes. So that when I create a copy of it, I'm going to actually get a full page as my copy. So Notion is taking so long. This is so annoying. Okay, so let's go ahead and click this recurring task. I'm just going to click the plus sign and it's going to make that template. So it automatically creates a copy and a new page called Send Analytics. And then I'm going to navigate back. Don't freak out. And I will see where I left off that this page has been created. You see, it says Send Analytics right here. And so I'm going to drag and drop this, and I'm going to drag and drop it to Tuesday. And you'll notice that because I made a duplicate of something that already existed on my Monday hour one, it pulls in all the same properties. So if I know that every single time I need to brainstorm IG Reels content for the week, it's going to be high priority because I'm going to do it on the first day of the week. It's going to be a to-do that hasn't been done yet, and it's going to be 2 cups of coffee for me. Then great, I can make that as a recurring task for myself. And if you want to change the recurring task, you can configure the template by clicking the little wrench in the right-hand corner. So that's how this template works. And I use my Monday hour one for like basically my entire life. And I have it on the dashboard of my main page inside of Notion. So I'm checking this constantly, checking things off my list, moving around my Monday hour one. I share a Monday hour one with my entire team. There are so many ways that you could customize this to work with a group or to work as an individual. But I hope that this was useful to you, and I hope it was fun for you. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments below or shoot me a note on Instagram at Holisticism. And if you want to learn more about how to use Notion as a squiggly brained, intuitive creator, have I got news for you? I teach classes with my team all about this. We created Notion for Magical Baddies for people just like you and just like me who are creative, intuitive, maybe a little bit ADHD, maybe, not so neurotypical, and also who want to do their sacred work in this life and do it with joy and pleasure. So we have a class coming up. I'm going to put the links below. And if you missed this, you're watching this in the future, you can always sign up for our waitlist for Notion for Magical Baddies digital spells or Notion for Magical Baddies system spells. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I can't wait to hear what you think of this video, and I will see you on the internet. Goodbye.